Hey Kama, welcome to When Spirit Talks.
Hi, Stephanie. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Me too, your energy, oh my goodness, I just have to start out with saying it's amazing and beautiful, and I cannot wait to learn about your story and how you became a soul health coach.
Thank you so, so much. That's so sweet right out the gate. Takes one to know one. So, yeah, I guess I'll jump right in a little bit about becoming a soul health coach. So, for years, I called myself, first of all, a holistic wellness coach, and I started my coaching basically through coaching my parents through their
Mhm.
marriage as a kid in a way that I probably wasn't supposed to be doing. And I just found myself in those really natural roles of seeing the big picture for people from such a young age. And I loved doing it for friends. I loved just helping people through their journeys. And it was just one of those things where they say, if it's naturally already happening,
Mhm.
go for it. And so I ended up doing all these different certifications for myself, and I'll talk about like the harder, shadowy
Yeah.
parts of my journey too. But I eventually got all of these certifications, not thinking I wanted to teach or coach at the time. I was way more interested in fashion design at that point in my life. And anyway, I eventually had all of my teachers start to tell me, you should teach, you need to teach. So I put it out there. I got all of these amazing clients that I still work with today. That was 8 years ago. And the focus then was like meditation, and it was still self-connection, but it was so broad. I was also really young. I was like 21. I was figuring so much out. I was really just teaching people like the techniques.
Yeah.
And eventually I realized through my own journey of losing myself so deeply for like the 400th time in my life that it was really about how much am I listening to my soul? Like, I can meditate all day. I can do yoga all day. I can drink the green juice or whatever the hell. But if I am not listening to my mother effing soul, then I am not well.
Yeah.
And so I realized that I had been using so many of my own techniques that did help me through so many amazing things at one point, actually as just band-aids and almost to numb the actual stuff that was there and that needed to be listened to. So that's where the title Coach came from. And I'm so stoked now that that is 100% how I live my life. It has blasted me open. Thank you for noticing the energy because it completely shifted when I started to live in alignment with myself. So that's a little bit about it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, first when you were talking, I thought I did the same thing. I did a bunch of healing modalities, different things, but it was all for myself. And what always sticks out for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you and the people you're working with, is that the people who go into it without thinking about business, without thinking about the selling, they're going into it for themselves and for soul growth and wisdom. Those are the people who are changing lives without even trying. It's just your presence, your energy, your aura. It's like who you are.
Yeah, I do feel that. I agree. There's some people that it feels like they slipped and fell into
Yes.
healing or these things. And I love that paradox too,
Yeah.
because it was a calling and not something they're trying to fit into, which I myself have been guilty of in so many different careers and iterations of self. So I agree.
Yeah. Now, what do you consider soul alignment to be?
Oh, such a good question. Soul alignment is listening to that deep inner call. That's the truest part of you. I do think it has so much to do with your inner child.
Mhm.
It's really the template of that inner archetype that has just been sort of suppressed or deprioritized through life. And it's about starting to listen again to the truest, realest part of you. And usually that comes through, at least for me, in dreams, in meditative states, in if I'm just free writing or journaling. It comes through in what I pin on Pinterest and what I follow on social media. It comes through in just what I love and how what the music I'm drawn to. There's so many different ways that your soul speaks, and usually it's through beauty and subconscious and vision and all of these more kind of like feminine
Mhm.
essences. And I really feel that yeah, most of us just sweep that under the rug. I did for so long, thinking I just had limiting beliefs around it. So
Yeah.
when I talk about the soul, I always say, like, first, it's being brave enough to sit down and listen and notice and start to actually write those things down and then claim the things that you want. And then notice all of the limiting beliefs in the way of whatever is actually coming up for you. So, I mean, I just think the soul is the part of you that is ancient and that came through to be inside of your body and have the experience it needed to have here. So, you got to follow it. Like, it has your
Hmm.
best interest.
Yeah, the limiting beliefs is huge too, because I think so many of us have them and it runs our lives. I like the
Yeah.
practice you mentioned with the journaling. I feel like that's a big one because sometimes when we just allow like our conscious mind out of it and we're just writing, like even give yourself a prompt. What does my soul need to tell me today? You just write and it will show up on the paper or in
Really.
the music. Like you mentioned music, and that's one of my big things. Like I have about a 45-minute commute to work each way. And I'm like, I can't be on the phone. I can't do anything. I listen to music and whatever songs are coming up that you like cannot stop listening to, that you have to keep putting on repeat. I'm like, there are messages there.
Mm, I love that. I love that. I
Hmm.
agree completely. And that was a huge way that my biggest soul awakening that I've had in this lifetime, at least, spoke through to me. There were songs and they would like wake me up in my sleep. Like my head would be playing me songs that I hadn't heard in years. And I remember it's also, I'm sure you can relate, and anyone who's really gone through this can, that kind of awakening or that kind of reconciliation with your soul is really painful and
Mm-hmm.
really scary. And I just resisted, like, when all of those, I mean, oftentimes the messages are, it sounds all floaty and nice, but when we hear them, it's really confronting
Hmm.
and really scary. And if you're anyone like me, I just thrashed.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
So how do you tell when your soul is out of alignment?
Ooh, for me, the body talks
Hmm.
and it is so loud. And I always say, when it's the first thing to notice is, who are you? So, who are you when you're away from your soul? And that's the question you're really asking me when you're misaligned with soul
Hmm.
and noticing the cues. And if you've been conditioned to live with soul out of alignment with your soul for so long, you might just be used to them. You might just be like, oh, this is the way it is. My chronic anxiety, my chronic depression, my chronic inflammation. For me, it was all of those things, severe anemia that just like could not be fixed with any diet or supplement. It was half of my hair fell out in just swaths and it wouldn't stop. And it was just crazy. My nervous system was so dysregulated. And I was, again, just trying to slap anything from cold plunging to
Hmm.
functional medicine to like all these iron supplements, and nothing would help. And it's just so interesting how if you go the natural, I don't know, pharmaceutical or medicinal,
Hmm.
traditional medicine route, you're going to find that people are just going to tell you, oh, it's this, oh, just try this, oh, this, blah, 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 blah. Nothing fixed me like listening to my soul. As soon as I listened to myself, and for me, that was end the relationship you're in, move across the ocean, literally change everything as you know it, everything went away. My
No
hair
way.
stopped falling out. All of it grew back. I'm literally anemia who. I am so not inflamed. Like my weight just regulated. That was another thing. It was going up and down and up and down. It just fully stabilized. No anxiety, no depression. Like people think that now I'm like on crack because of how happy I
That is
genuinely
amazing.
am. So like what? And that was the biggest teacher for me because it was years of trying to heal or fix these chronic issues and so much money. Oh
Hmm.
my God, the amount of money I spent on therapy and doctors and, whatever, it was insane. But ultimately, like, it just needed to listen. That's it.
Wow. So did you give yourself a certain prompt or did you just keep seeing the same signs? Like how did you know it was like, okay, I have to move. I have to get out of the relationship. I have to do this.
Yeah. I knew what I really wanted for a long time. And I just put everything else in front of that,
Mhm.
everyone else specifically in front of that, especially romantic relationships. So part of my deep work was looking at any of my like attachment wounds and codependent patterning because I found myself just completely losing me in all of these different dynamics. But what I found is that I wasn't, unfortunately, it wasn't like a prompt or like a pretty process
Mhm.
of seeking, even. It was just, I'm forced into this. My
Mm.
body was falling apart emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I just felt disconnected in every single area. And that disconnect for me, when you asked what the soul
Mhm.
misaligned looks like, is just like such big disconnect. It's
Mm.
like I don't really know who I am. I feel disconnected from spirit, God, myself, whatever. I feel so like lost. I feel anxious. I feel insecure, exhausted, depleted, overwhelmed. Like you just can't catch up because you're running on the wrong track. Like
Mhm.
you'll never catch up. And so, yeah, for me, it was same signs over and over and over again, and just like a painful amount of the universe screaming at me. One of my favorite moments in hindsight, not at the
Yeah.
time, but I was walking through the nature because I was like, maybe I just need more time in nature. So I started spending an hour a day in nature. And I'm walking through this park and a hawk flew into the back of my head full speed and like knocked
No.
to the ground. And I remember thinking like, whoa. And obviously that's like a literal sign hits you in the
Yeah.
back of the head. Like it was irresistible. Like I had to look into it. And the first thing it said, well, first of all, there was nothing on hawk flying into the back of your head, but there was hawk symbolism, which
Yeah.
I just defaulted to because I'm like, wait, I know that something's telling me wake up.
That's
And
hysterical.
the message was listen to the divine.
Mm.
And the divine in me knew where it wanted to be, what it wanted to do, what life was supposed to feel like. I didn't know or trust that that was even possible for me, but I just knew that eventually, after sign like that, something needed to change.
That is wild. Do you know how many hawks I've seen this week? And I don't
Re-
usually see them. Yeah.
really?
It's coming full circle now. It's like showing
Wow.
up because you were now talking about this. But I wonder how many other times there were hawks around you and maybe you hadn't noticed, but in that moment it was like I'm here and now you can kind of focus and put it together and figure out where you want to go.
Totally, totally. And I also think that there's something to say about when messages come so loud that you don't want,
Yeah.
because there's times where we trick ourselves into the serendipities and synchronicities
Mm-hmm.
when we do want something like, right, we're like, I really want this relationship to work out. So then we start to look for all the signs of it working
Yes.
out. And like, okay, like, it's human. We got to be aware of those patterns. But I think there's something to say when you don't want this because you know it's going to disrupt your life as you know it, but it still keeps coming. That's another thing to me that just is that's spirit. Like that's the universe, that's God, that's your soul. There's no, yeah, because every part of me just wanted to plug my ears and
Yeah.
not hear or see any of those signs. But I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what would you say to someone who is in your position, is feeling all those feelings, seeing all the signs, but they're scared to follow their soul path, their soul purpose because of what other people around them might think?
Oof, yeah. Well, this was a huge thing for me. And it wasn't just what they would think, it was the fear of hurting them,
Hmm.
hurting or disappointing or abandoning them, which of course was my greatest wound. And so often in these soul pull moments, in these true following, coming home to ourselves, we're what's holding us back is our greatest harm. So do you feel like you're going to betray someone in this process? Do you feel like you're going to abandon someone? Do you feel like what you got to stem it down to what the core thing is?
Mm.
And so those are the things that tie us down. And so I had quite a few. I noticed the primary just being hurting and abandoning all of the people that I loved and some judgment, but really it was just the fear of hurting others. And I just had to sit with that and realize if I am not, if I am ignoring this, I am abandoning
Yeah.
myself. I am hurting and harming myself. Like, look at my body. And when I looked in the mirror at that time, I was just a shell of who I
Hmm.
am. And it goes back to that. I have my yoga teacher training, and that's been such a
Hmm.
practice for me throughout this time, like ahimsa, right? Like, you are causing, if you're causing harm to yourself, that's causing harm. And that's the greatest harm because then you can't even show up for these people in the right
Yeah.
way. And the other thing is, the people that are meant to be in alignment with you will come around or forgive you or just celebrate that from the jump. And those that don't, they just don't. And it's honestly like, thank God the universe is showing you what is meant to be in your life.
Hmm.
It's really radical to say, but like, don't let that take up space because that was my fear too. Like I was like, I'm
Hmm.
going to be all alone in a new place where I moved across the ocean to Hawaii.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't, I, it also peak like codependency. I was so
Hmm.
scared. It was everything I was afraid of. I making room and leaving behind the old brought me into the greatest alignment with the greatest community I've ever had in my whole entire life. Like, follow your soul
It's
because
like,
it always leads you to where you need. Yeah, health,
yeah.
happiness, friendship, connection, joy, business, like literally everything.
You stepped into a new place, but a new life, a new state of being, a new energy, like all of that. But that is such a brave thing to do. And so I really like give you applause because that is not easy. And the one thing that stuck with me was when you were saying, like your fear of abandoning others, but then you tied it in with if you are so scared of abandoning others that you then abandon yourself, like that hits home.
Yeah. It's like that Glennon Doyle quote that I love so much. If you know what I'm talking about, where it just says, if you're like, if you have to betray someone else or betray yourself, always betray
Hmm.
someone else. Like, and not betray, like, look, we're conscious people. I don't know if your listeners are the same. It's like we're here doing our best. So you can also trust yourself to know that you're a kind of person who isn't going to be unconsciously, recklessly
Hmm.
causing harm. Like, yeah, we do because we're human and we mess up and we can't be perfect, but that was something else I had to remember because a huge part of my journey was navigating the guilt of leaving. And I tapped like
Oh,
EFT
EFT.
every day, baby, on guilt because it was that really was one of
Yeah.
the hardest things to go through. I left these people, I left this person, I broke someone's heart to leave. Whatever. It was so hard. But once I got through that and I addressed that guilt every day, which was really
Hmm.
just a guilt that I'd been experiencing every day anyway, just hiding it
True.
or, being controlled by it. Suddenly now I'm just sitting with it in the room. And now I just feel so much better and in such healthier relationship around guilt. It's not consuming, it's not controlling. Like, it's just an emotion that can very, very gently and much less
Mhm.
frequently come and go.
You know what, too, with guilt, I feel like it's almost like it was easier, or it's sometimes easier to deal with guilt when it comes to other people. Like at the forefront, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so guilty because I'm leaving them, or I feel guilty because I'm not able to be there for these people. But when it comes to feeling guilty for just being yourself and following your purpose and for who you are, I feel like it's hard to notice that guilt. I feel like it's not in your face, but when you see it reflected to you because you're dealing with other people, that's a great way to heal because I feel like it's almost even like that. It was brought to you, and you were now able to see, I have to heal this guilt wound, whether it
Yeah.
was for someone else or for yourself, but it was just that wound of guilt. You were finally able to see it and like start healing that.
Exactly. And it's so wild how many insidious things there were inside of me that I didn't realize until I made this move.
Mm,
And that's why in my basically my signature e-course I have
yeah.
called Brave Enough to Be You. So you said all the words already, like brave and being you and it's the process that I took for myself. And the reason why I just needed to create this in the world is because I really do think that that radical leap that you take is the biggest quantum leap in healing of your life. Like I'm banging my head against a wall in therapy for like 10 years over stuff that it
Hmm.
just like one decision healed, shifted, eradicated, like nothing else ever has. And so it really is. It's the greatest quantum leap you can take to just listen to your soul. That's it.
Hmm.
I just want everyone to know again and again.
So, what is one tip you can give for everyone listening on how to be a little bit braver when it comes to following and finding that soul alignment? So, if they're
Mm,
scared, if they're nervous, if they're feeling guilty, if they're feeling shameful, what is
yeah.
one thing that helped you stay the
Yeah.
path?
Great question. So, hmm. I think one of the greatest tools that you can take on your bravery journey is tapping, really,
Mm.
EFT, because that helped me shift and process things that felt too consuming to feel. Because really, what we mostly are afraid of is our own inner psyche, because really, stuff works out. Like it
Yeah.
really just can, and it does. But we're so afraid of what's going to happen inside of us. But imagine that you could just get that voice into a softer place, into a
Hmm.
place where you can approach everything that you're afraid of and just feel calm or just feel like, okay, I can handle what's coming up inside of me. That's all that bravery is. Bravery is
Hmm.
not the absence of fear. It's just being able to work through and with the fear. So, one of my core practices is tapping around bravery and around fear and finally being able to let that not be in the driver's seat. It's just something that you acknowledge. So, and I'm not a fearless person. I'm like, I've been my whole life, I was riddled with anxiety. I
Really?
just,
Wow.
oh my God, separation anxiety, like social anxiety, body
Yeah.
dysmorphia. Like I had it all. Like there was not one thing I wasn't anxious about. And to this day, I mean, it still sometimes like chirps and I just
Hmm.
know how to talk to myself now. But people wouldn't even know that. That's like the biggest part of who I was.
Hmm.
Some from a young age too. So, you know, you could even call that my like natural state, which I know we don't
Hmm.
like to say our natural state is like joy and all these things, but really like such a young age. So tap. And there's free videos on
Yeah.
YouTube. Brad Yates is one of my favorites. I have tons of free content for that, but tapping it out is just the greatest.
Now, you do ancient Hawaiian healing too, or you incorporate some of that into your practices?
Yeah, I do.
I
So
want to
one
know
of
more about that.
Oh my gosh, of course. So one of the main things is okay, I grew up here on Maui part-time and out in the deep Hawaiian jungle, and that land was extremely sacred. Unfortunately, was Hawaiian burial ground before my parents bought it, like two people
Hmm.
before, and they had like excavated bones and all this
Oh,
horrific
wow.
stuff as they do to create real estate.
Hmm.
And this land, so we had it blessed and all of these things. And I felt so deeply connected to it. It's where I started to actually become attuned to the frequency of something beyond the physical realm.
Mm.
And I would literally go outside for hours and just talk to the land, to the spirits, to whatever was coming through to me. And I found out through later in life studying Hawaiian healing, this is just so natural. This is so part of the Hawaiian culture. This is what it is being in deep reverence and conversation with the land and the plants and the elements and the spirits. And so that's just like foundational to who I am. And what I invite people into is to be in conversation with that
Mm.
energy frequency that is the unseen, that is the realm of nature, like the hawk flying into the back of my head,
Hmm.
spending time allowing, and you don't have to be in Hawaii, like you can be wherever you are, just listening to the land and knowing that it's all a mirror of who we are. So whatever the energy is it's a mirror. So it's for us to just like pay attention to and be open to and listen and ask, why is this coming up for me? And that was the biggest lesson of that whole experience, my time on that land. My parents sold the house when I was 22. Greatest loss of my life. But now
Oh.
it brought me back to me because also what I learned, and I asked the land too, like, why? Like, why? This is the most of a sacred place to me. Um, and it was so that I could come home to me and take everything and bring it back to me, which has been clearly my life lesson. And yeah, so That's one of the main principles.
Mhm.
Another one is this concept aloha ma, which I learned from my teacher, Keoni Hanalei, and he's a teacher of ancient Lemuria Mu culture. So potent and powerful, and to me, just like made sense of everything,
Mhm.
which is getting in right relationship with our divine feminine, but what the divine feminine actually represents is safety. So, getting in right relationship with our own sense of safety so that we can connect more deeply to the divine, and that there's no way to do it if we're not in safety. And I loved so much the mantra we would use is I am safe. I am not asking you, I'm telling you.
Oh, I like that. I love
Yeah,
that.
huge declaration and then learning what our inner feminine is, not what like society says, not what like
Hmm.
the spiritual world says, which is,
Hmm.
like soft and like receiving and blah, blah, blah. No, but like who is your divine feminine? And I love taking people through that process too, because it's always different. And she has a name and she is a whole entity. And the closer we are to her, the closer we are to God.
Hmm.
Same thing with the masculine, and the masculine's our inner hero. So it's the part of us that actually takes the feminine's vision and pours it out into the world. And then, of course, the third, which is the androgynous part of us. And that's actually like the exalted version of it all. So that's an overview. It goes so deep, but I take people through that process a lot. And it's one of the foundations in my coaching because when we know those parts of ourselves, we know ourselves and we are guided from that
Mm.
place because we can listen through the feminine, execute through the masculine, and then become the most expansive, exalted version of self.
Amazing. Now, do you feel like typically people are um, less connected to their divine feminine or their divine masculine?
Ooh, it's a great question. Well, it all starts with the feminine. So it's kind of like, to me, if you're not connected to the feminine, you're kind of not connected to
Hmm.
it. And I think we're seeing that a lot in society right now with a little bit of a wonky imbalance with patriarchal versus matriarchal, and that we do need both. We really do an equal balance. But what's so interesting is the feminine, we look at the masculine as the leader. I also
Hmm.
partner dance. So like the masculine
Yeah.
is the lead, but the feminine is the lead. The feminine is like where it all starts. So she's the one that's pulling the energy. She's the one that's reading into those subtleties. And like if you even think about it like from a primal perspective,
Hmm.
like pulling, luring, maybe
Hmm.
seducing with no words. So
Yeah.
it starts in her. And when we're in that in our bodies, it all lands in the right place. So I think a lot of us are disconnected from our feminine to answer
Mm.
your question in a long way. And when we are connected to our feminine, I think this entire world changes.
Mm. What is one thing people can do to connect more deeply to their divine feminine?
So, yes, the very first thing that you can do, and this is from my training, is first, it starts with consent. And that's massive, is asking your feminine, which lives in the sacral center, like the
Mhm.
womb space, whether you're masculine, however you identify, it's the womb space. So, you ask your body, you ask that part of you, do I have consent to work with you? And when you get the sense of yes, will you feel your body's yes? First of all, knowing your body's yes and no is also deeply being attuned to your feminine. So once you understand your body's yes and you say, you get that yes, then you can start right there by just being in connection. I literally, for like months, would just start with that, just a hand on my low belly and a hello. I would literally be like, hey, I'm Kama. What's your name? Do you want to share anything with me? That was the very first thing. Like, let it be really natural and gentle because you have to create the safety. And
Hmm.
then when you're creating safety in yourself, like that's such a safety practice. Like I'm starting with consent in my own freaking body.
Yeah.
Most of us don't even do that. So once you have that within yourself, it's a much easier game out in the real world to be like, was that consensual to me? Or do I actually want that in my space? Or was that an invitation? Or do I want to step in? Or am I inviting that in? So it's a very, like right there is massive because you're attuning to the subtleties, you're learning self-consent and safety, you're slowing down, you're listening, you're developing connection and relationship, all very feminine. And then you can go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then it can get more and more woo-woo or whatever. You can start to like hear messages and see visions because the feminine also communicates through what we were saying from the beginning is we're so used to getting through things through logic. And the feminine is not. The
Yeah.
feminine is quantum. There's no logic. There's only like sensation and vision and like sparkly. Like it's getting comfortable with that or how lyrics come through, right?
Mhm.
Getting comfortable with that language. And that is deeply honoring of the feminine too.
Beautiful. Speaking of femininity and really connecting with that, you created a skincare line.
Yes.
Tell us.
Yes. It's so funny. I almost brought it over here, but it's called Mukama Botanica. And it was my first, I guess, inner pull and inner listening. Another thing I didn't expect to put out in the world, but I was in fashion school picking my skin like a meth addict. My skin was
Hmm.
horrible and I was stressed and I had so many scars. And I was like, this is again no intention other than to heal my own body. I went back to the jungle in Hawaii to my childhood home, and I just started foraging fruit and flowers and was making my own skincare just because I don't like toxic chemicals. And I was
Hmm.
just whatever. It was all very fun and beautiful and intuitive, and I ended up healing all of my superficial scarring. So I was like, whoa, this is a potent product. It was all from guava.
Hmm.
And eventually I just started to, people started asking, I started to create skincare for other people. And then I started a line and it's been almost, wow, like 8 years. And it's been amazing. All organic, natural, recycled packaging. Um, it's so pure. You could literally eat it if you wanted to. And then my second, I mean, it wouldn't be good, but you could. And my second product, High Vibe Face Mist, I launched in my Hawaiian healing training, studying with elders and healers, my first Hawaiian healing training. So it's so intentional, it's so devotional, and it's a practice for me of literally loving the skin I'm in. And that's just been such a transformative thing for me to actually tend to my body because I always say the body is like your antenna, it's your vessel, it carries your soul. So to just love on it and have a sacred practice morning and night with your skin that's pure and of nature and these luscious botanicals that hold so much healing vibration anyway is just, yeah, it's such a sacred ritual. And that's how it all started for me.
That is beautiful, beautiful. Now I want to get into the spirit segment. So I have a few questions that I want to ask you. And before I forget this, you got two cards today because at the end I always pull a card for the guest and then a message for everyone else, but two stuck out. And now I'm like, it makes total sense because I was like, why are there two? But we'll get into that later. But
Okay, I love it.
what is one thing you always include in your daily routine that helps you stay balanced and grounded that might help other people do the same?
In my daily routine, one of the main things that honestly helps me stay grounded is surrounding myself with wonderful community. And I have to say, this one, it almost makes me cry because I never had it. And so I know how frustrating it can feel to be like, but I don't have that community. And I just want to say, I have been there. Like, loneliness felt like my baseline for most of my life. Put yourself in the places and spaces of your interests, and that's how you find them. If you want to dance, if you always felt pulled to dance and you're too scared, tap on
Mhm.
it and then go sign up for a dance class. Like, which is literally what I did. If you've always been scared, like same thing, surfing, dancing, whatever, knitting, whatever the hell it is, go and do that and find your people because they are where your excitement,
Mhm.
your curiosity, and your joy lives. Period.
Yeah,
Number one is having solid community more than anything else.
that is great. Yeah, it's hard to come from a place where you might be anxious or feeling lonely or feeling uncomfortable or, not knowing people. But yeah, it's so good to think about it that way because the things you're interested in, the other people who are also aligned with you and your values and your energy are going to be attracted to those same places and hobbies and things too.
Yeah, and then you notice I have to say this other thing,
Hmm.
there's like stereotypes of like
Yeah.
certain kinds of people, but like not even in a bad way, in this beautiful way that like my little sister is a horse girl and she's a
Hmm.
horse girl, like she's like tougher, she likes to like be a little in
Yeah.
control, she likes to be a little wild and free, and those are the people that are like her. She's
Yeah.
found them, you know? I started dancing. I didn't know I was like a dance archetype, but same
Hmm.
thing. There's like a silliness, a playfulness, an expressiveness, and maybe a little
Hmm.
flamboyantness,
Yeah.
whatever. And that is like they are where you are and your interests are. They're not arbitrary. It's like they're archetypes, and you
Hmm.
get to go experience that. So can't emphasize that enough.
That's awesome. Now, do you have a favorite story regarding your connection to spirit?
Mm. Oh my God, yes, but so many. It's like constant.
It's hard to think of one on the spot, but
Yeah, I think the one that really comes to mind is so when I grew up part-time out in the jungle in Huelo, the day that the last day I spent on that land was it was crazy because I didn't know that my parents were going to have this house get sold. And basically flew out for this Hawaiian healing training that was 3 weeks long. And the moment I landed, a family friend told me, you know, the house sells 2 days after you leave, like the
oh,
sale closes. And I was like, "Whoa." And so yeah, my parents had a lot to we had a lot to work out after that,
talk
but
about, yeah.
we're good now, we're good. But I had 3 weeks alone in the jungle, just studying during the day and then coming home to the house to basically apply everything that I was learning in my training, which was so beautiful and full circle. And so every chant, every dance, every just ceremonial offering. I just did it all. I was waking up at 4 in the morning every day to just spend as much time as I could with the land, doing it all. And every day was magical. I mean, it felt like I was like, like Snow White or something. Like I was singing and talking to the birds and they're talking to me and everything's coming together. But the last day, I think that something so magical happened. And I'm going to do my best to even explain this, but there was this one hill on the property that felt like the place I always thought of. Like if there could be one image of the land, it would be that hill. And so when I only had 1 hour left to spend on the property, I was so overwhelmed, like where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do and how I was going to spend it. But I was like, I got to go sit on that hill. So I had this whole image. I'm going to sit right there. I'm walking up the hill. It's probably 12 noon, super hot, beautiful day. And I sit down right where I'm going to sit down. There's a toad in the grass. And if you don't know, toads are like traditionally nocturnal. And I grew up with them, like catching them at night. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this toad is sitting here in the daylight, like, and it looks like it's dying. And I
Mm.
just sit down next to it and I'm like, I'm dying too. Me and this toad are like having this dramatic
Oh.
moment together. And I'm just crying, thinking, like, this is my proxy. Like, we're the
Hmm.
same. And I really believe that in general. So I'm crying. I'm having this whole experience, just like, wow. And I just started praying and I looked up and it was like every animal from the land had surrounded us in basically a circle. There were butterflies flying around, there were birds chirping. Everything just was like coming in on me and this toad. And I was just like laughing and crying, like this is literally being on acid. And as I started to like, I got this really deep sense from my training to use the ha, which is the breath in Hawaiian culture, and just to breathe life into this toad. And so I started breathing the ha, like sending all my breath towards this toad with everything I had in me. And I'm crying and I'm like sending it to myself too. And by the third breath, it lifted its head and it just hopped into the bushes.
Oh.
And I just remember sitting there and being like, I just got the loudest message, like, you're gonna be okay. Like, just take this breath, let this infuse everything. This is with you, this is of you, this is in you, and go proliferate that. And it was just so clear. And oh man, like it was just such a like goosebumps on my skin, full emotion moment where I could feel and hear the voice of spirit in myself. And yeah, and I think nature is a place where we can go out and really, if we drop in enough, we can see that and feel that and our oneness, like our oneness in all of it. So just one of my favorites, but yeah.
That was extraordinary. That story is beautiful. And it's like, it's even like the culmination of like you and like the transformation you went to and like feeling like, oh my gosh, this is the end, but then literally breathing new life into yourself and the creatures around you, like starting a
Totally.
new life.
Totally. And feeling that guidance, like we're
That's
always
beautiful.
guided, always.
That's awesome. Now, do you have a final piece of advice for listeners trying to improve their spiritual well-being?
Mm. Mm. Yeah. It's when you are sitting in your practice, which I'm sure the listeners here are doing some version of that daily, just make sure that you're really actually listening. And it's not just a time to kind of unplug or disconnect deeper. Make sure that you are listening. And that can be meditation, just inquiring, what do I need to know? Maybe what am I avoiding? What does my soul need me and want me to know? And that's really the greatest question you can ask yourself. And then tap it through, be brave enough to listen and actually act because it's worth everything and you're so supported.
I love that. And where can our listeners go to find more about you?
So you can follow me on Instagram, which is Kama, Kam as in Mary A, Hagar, Hagar. And you can also subscribe to my newsletter, which is on kamahagar.com. And all of these really fun things are coming out this year. This is my year of diving deep into really breaking down the process of how I shifted my life from what it was into this absolutely, what I say, lit and luscious experience here on Earth and soul aligned. I have a great 24-day kit course coming up, which is a super low cost, incredible offer about listening to your body. Reopening my doors to Brave Enough to Be You in May. It's going to be so great. And then I have really fun events coming up, like adult summer camp and crazy, like fun retreats. And I'm actually going to be able to take a few people back to that land I'm talking about so much in January for a 4-day, really intimate, sacred retreat. So, a lot is happening. I'm so excited. So, yeah, stay in the loop if this resonates because this is going to be quite the year.
This sounds incredible.
It's going to be the
Incredible. Now, I'm going to show you your cards. Are you ready?
best. So
Like I
ready.
said, only usually get one, but two came together. I'm going to show you the first one.
Hmm.
So, first of all, you got the Eight of Wands, but you said 8 years of having your skincare line. So the number eight is connected there, but it's even like your connection to the earth and the lands that like you were on and how you connect with it, how you receive that guidance from source, from soul. You align it and connect it to yourself, but then you also help everyone else um, with that as well. But here's the kicker. You also got the strength card, which is on this card. If you're not watching it, it's the sacral area. So you were talking about divine feminine and womb and sacral. So it's just like, I'm like, these are
Oh
why they were
my
stuck together.
God.
You can't
Whoa.
make it up.
No, you never can. It's magical. Like, this is what I mean by, like, what's your favorite story about spirit? I'm
Yeah.
like, how can you even say when it's happening all the time? Like,
Yeah.
and you're clearly so connected and such a conduit for that with your intuitive, beautiful questions and your ability to channel that right through. So thank you. That's
Oh,
amazing.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And for everyone else, get ready for movement. Your goals are going to pan out for you. Things are going to work out for you. So trust yourself, move forward, and don't step backwards. But Kama, thank you so much for coming on. It was beautiful, and I loved hearing all of your stories and your guidance and your wisdom. And thank you again.
Thank you so much, Steph.